Good afternoon to you. 3:06 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, 4 o'clock, John Hassan joins us. We'll talk about Donald Trump's latest statement on life and abortion. A lot to talk about there at 4 o'clock. 4:30, the Congressman Guy Reschenthaler is with us. We'll talk about his efforts to get Dulles renamed to a familiar name. And Julie Kelly will be with us at 5 o'clock. We talked to her about all of the assaults on hardworking Americans being led by the American left inside of our court systems. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Yeah. The sun is now in the midst of attempting to hide behind the moon. Even the sun is ashamed of where we are right now as a country. I just spent the last few minutes staring out a window up into the sky. We've got the special glasses here at the radio station. I don't even know. How can we afford those? Aren't those hard to come by? And I stared up at the sun, and I was able to see it in all of its glory. It turns out, they tell me the sun's out every day. This is not an unusual phenomenon, but you're never supposed to, quote, stare at the sun. Don't you love all of the patronizing coverage? Oh, please be careful. Don't stare directly into the sun, you morons. I love that. That always brings me a lot of joy when the news patronizes me, when every channel you turn on is telling you, hey, don't be an idiot. Don't stare at the sun. I'll do whatever I want. You tell me not to stare at the sun? In fact, I blinded myself before the show, so I can't really go through my show prep today. They were right. I have to tell you, the warnings were correct. Not a good idea to stare at the sun. So I'm flying literally blind today. I'm incapable of reading any of the show prep that I have printed out here. No, it's perfectly fine. They say 3:20, in case you were listening to our newscast, 3:20 is when we're expecting the most coverage of the sun by the moon this afternoon here in the D.C. area. We're not in the path of totality this time. We're in the path of partiality, I guess. And you will still be able to be blinded by the sun as the moon covers up a portion of it, which it's already doing as we speak. Pretty cool, though. It is cool. It is neat to see something different, and it's expected. For those of you who, I know you're not in this audience, but, let's say you watch The View or something. You may think that this is the end of the world. This is the Chicken Little moment. The sky is falling. You're running around. You have no idea what's happening. You don't really follow things day to day. You're not big on science. You didn't see that this was projected literally hundreds of years ago, that on this particular date we would have a solar eclipse coming. And you're freaking out right now. It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I'm here to bring you some comfort. It's just a solar eclipse. It's just a solar eclipse. I love all the schools in the area who are trying to figure out how to handle it today. Like it's a big thing. Okay, what are we going to do? Some of the schools are closing the windows so that the children can't enjoy it. Isn't that crazy? It's just like the poor kids. Not only are they locked in school, they're not allowed to derive any joy whatsoever from any of this. The Washington Post says today how D.C. area schools are handling the solar eclipse. Thousands of D.C. area students will be in school Monday, today, as we speak, while the total solar eclipse sweeps across the nation. It's a phenomenon that will not be viewable in the United States for another 20 years. So they're robbing these kids of their childhood today, just so you know. Some of the schools in the region are holding viewing parties. Okay, some of them are letting them play along. Some are dismissing students from class during the peak of the solar eclipse, and they're providing special classes. Others plan to keep the students inside during the event to protect the children's eyesight. One elementary school in Montgomery County told parents it would close classroom blinds as a safety precaution. The D.C. region, of course, not in the path of totality. The sun is expected to be 87% obscured here now within just the next 10 minutes. During this time, it's dangerous to look at the sun with the naked eye. What they don't tell you is it's also dangerous to do it any other day of the week. Turns out staring at the sun, not good for you. D.C. public schools not dismissing early today. Some schools plan to host watch parties for the students. Northern Virginia, most school districts have not made any operational changes. Dismissal in Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun will all proceed as normal with safety precautions in place. Alexandria City Public Schools, Arlington Public Schools, and Loudoun County Public Schools have all purchased special glasses for for all of their students. Some schools have planned viewing events. Let's see. Maryland, the state's two largest school systems, Montgomery County Public Schools and Prince George's County Public Schools, they also don't have a district-wide plan in place for students to view the eclipse. Instead, in both school systems, plans vary on a school-by-school basis, and in some cases, plans are specific to a grade level or class. In Montgomery County, for example, Northwood High School in Silver Spring, they're hosting an after-school viewing. But at Tacoma Park Elementary School, the principal announced in a newsletter the students would not be permitted to view the eclipse, though parents could sign their kids out of class. That's typical for Tacoma Park, right? The socialists in Tacoma Park, they won't even let the kids enjoy the eclipse. Cram said that it is more operationally difficult for elementary schools to host events because school dismissal occurs while the eclipse is ongoing. It would cause chaos. All right, so that's what's happening as we speak. I hope you're enjoying it wherever you are today. This was a nice weekend, by the way, if you had a chance to get outside and enjoy it. This is perfect time of year, right? It's not too humid yet. Not humid at all. You're out there, nice wind, good sun. I was out playing with the dog. Meanwhile, our very own Corey Inganamort was floating on the Potomac this weekend on what's the name of the boat?
We recently got an official name, a sticker on the side. We call it the No Woke Zone. The No Woke Zone.
It's the No Woke Zone. Little play on words for no wake zones. The No Woke Zone on the side of your ship, and you took this year's maiden voyage on Saturday. What did you do it to celebrate? What were you out on the Potomac witnessing? We
did. So me and 5 friends, we had this plan for a little while. Saturday was the Cherry Blossom 10-miler race in Washington, D.C., and I think it's the biggest race in Washington, D.C. There are 21,500 runners that participate in this every year.
Were there many cherry blossoms? Or are they all down?
They were down at this point.
That's kind of sad. You have your Cherry Blossom 10-miler without cherry blossoms.
I was actually thrilled that they were down because that makes my boat more viewable. The leaves were off the trees. So all these runners who were running alongside East Potomac Park, they had a clear view of my boat, which was flying a 10-foot by 6-foot Save Democracy, Vote Trump 2024 with a giant mugshot of Donald Trump. So all these runners, 21,500 of them, they make the turn at mile 8. They start running, and there I am with 5 of my friends with this massive flag, and the reactions we got were just, I thrive off of this energy. I texted you earlier in the week, Vince. I said, come on out. However, this probably isn't going to be a family-friendly type affair, and Vince has a young kid. I was like, it might not be the greatest thing because the experts have the number of middle fingers right now at about 25.
Right.
So I thought that was
the betting markets. The betting markets were at 25.
The betting markets were. I thought it was a bit conservative of a number because I would have definitely have bet the over. It turns out we were counting from the very beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. We reached 184 middle fingers during this maiden voyage. It was
among
so
the
much
runners.
fun.
Were the runners doing it too?
They were all runners.
All of them.
All the runners were. It was so funny. One guy, we got a couple people yelling at us, "F Trump, F you guys." One woman was so passionately hating us that she was yelling at us. She tripped and fell.
I love that. So, she was running in your direction?
Alongside us. So we were driving along the shore. She was running alongside us. She was yelling at us, and she tripped and fell. And that just, I felt bad for a second.
You did, for a moment.
But then I mostly thought it was hilarious.
Did she comically roll or anything?
It was more of like a thump. It was like a thump, a little bounce off the ground, and boy, we had a couple of high fives and laughs afterwards.
Yeah. I hope she recovered nicely, but I do take some joy in the Three Stooges moment that you're describing.
She needs a lot of recovering, physically and mentally.
I want people to hear this because Corey has done the public a great service here. He posted you posted some of this to X, correct? This weekend. So you can find it on Corey's X account, or you can find it on mine. I shared it there as well. But here's Corey driving the No Woke Zone with his gigantic, I'm talking huge, this is a car dealership size, Save Democracy, Vote Trump 2024 flag with a mugshot of the President of the United States on it right there. Here's Corey honking his horn at all of the delighted runners in the Cherry Blossom 10-miler.
We're up to 45 middle fingers.
Hey, 45. There you go, in honor of Trump.
Yeah.
Oh man, these people loved you. I mean, just imagine you're out running and you're like that emotionally incontinent that you see somebody flying a Trump flag and you're like, "Whatever," and you're like throwing birds in the air.
It threw them off their game, although I think for a few of them, it motivated them. They got so angry that they got a little extra burst of speed.
You
So
helped them.
in reality, they should be thanking me.
You helped them.
Absolutely.
That's generous, honestly. I mean, it's inspiring. Here's more horn honking, of course, and the number keeps going up. I heard 57, 58.
It gets higher.
And this one's good. This is when you get to around, this is 91. This is where this audio checks in.
89. 89.
90.
There's 90. That's 91.
And so that woman started yelling, "Beep Trump."
Yeah, it was. You probably couldn't tell because the voices may have been similar. It was actually a man. He was so unhinged. He was yelling at us, "F Trump, F Trump," and again, I got so much joy out of it. We started the day without any music on, and I wasn't even honking my horn. I was just like waving politely, seeing what kind of reactions we got. And then then the pack started getting denser. There was more and more and more people. I said, we need to get a little bit more aggressive here. So that's when I started honking my horn. We put on all sorts of crazy music, a couple Let's Go Brandon songs. At one point, I actually played Donald Trump's Warsaw speech. So we blasted that so they could be reminded of presidential greatness.
And the nice thing about water is sound travels.
Yeah.
So if you've got a boat, and Corey's got a good speaker system on this thing. Already, it's loud as anything on the boat, but then it travels right across the water, and people can hear it. So they hear Trump's voice giving the Warsaw speech. Great speech. Did you play any Lee Greenwood?
We played a little Lee Greenwood. We did. Then we played RNC Research, their pinned tweet. It's 5 minutes of Joe Biden bumbling and stumbling and not making any sense. So we blasted that out. We just had a grand old time. It was me and 5 friends. I said, next time, the only thing we got to do is bring a speaker, aim it at the shore, and just start preaching facts. I think we should probably do a Vince Colonnese show from the boat next year.
I love that.
Bring all of our guests. We'll get the phone system set up. Jeff will set that up. And we should actually do that.
Jeff, I can see Jeff shuddering at the thought of that effort.
But it was a great time, and I saw my tweet blew up a little bit. If you want to check it out, like Vince said, I tweeted it. I'm at the Bird Words. I saw Overheard in Washington D.C. Wrote about it on their Instagram.
Oh, they did. I was wondering because I was looking this up this week, and I figured if there's a boat on the Potomac with a gigantic Trump flag.
It got noticed. It definitely got noticed.
But I didn't see much on X. I was looking all over. I couldn't find people talking about it. It was almost like, I guarantee with all the many thousands of people who saw it, that I'm sure tons of them took photos and sent it to family and friends, but they didn't want to give you the public attention because this is what he wants. He wants this to get
You're
noticed.
probably right about that. The other thing that was hurting my chances of going as viral as I wanted to is that the runners, most of them weren't carrying phones when you run 10 miles.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
They were stopping and shouting, but had they had phones, and a few of them did. I saw my picture getting taken quite a few times. That was fun, but that just means we're going to have to do it more often, and we're going to do it every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We're going to go by Georgetown, the Wharf, Alexandria. We're just going to do this every single weekend until November 5th because Washington, D.C. needs to learn.
So if someone sees you out on the water, if somebody in our great listening audience sees, it would be quite obviously you. It's going to be you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the only one flying that flag out on the Potomac. What should they do? Should they honk or yell to you or something?
They should honk. They should yell. They should bring a case of Miller Lite and then join me on the boat. We're gonna let's do a WMAL party one day. I'm dead serious about this. I'll meet you at the dock. We'll get everybody together and we'll have a great time.
Can I tell people why you chose this race? This is at least what you told me. So
I forget actually.
It's actually everything about it makes total sense. You're driving right along the shore, making sure that the flag is flying in such a way that they can read it perfectly instead of the inverse side where it's reversed. You're doing all that the right way. But you correctly chose a morning event where a bunch of lefties are running instead of some sort of generic, maybe evening time event where they begin taking out their illegal firearms and shooting at you.
That may be something I need to worry about later this summer. For now, I'm safe. Mom, I'm safe. Everything's fine. But yeah, later this summer, we'll see when word gets around that Corey's going to be in Georgetown at 2 o'clock every Saturday and Sunday. We'll see. We'll see. I'm ready for it, though. Let's bring it on.
Well, thanks for carrying the message out there this weekend. That's pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun. We'll do it again soon.
And as we speak right now, Washington, D.C. is in the midst of the darkest moment of this solar eclipse. Bear with us through the darkness. Right now it's 3:21. Yeah, the darkness is on right now. Like a bunch of goobers, we just ran to the office window and grabbed the community glasses we're sharing today. We all stared up. We're like, oh, look at that. All right, good. I'm good for the next 20 years. Oh, holy cow. Let's see here. I've got Chris and Marshall calling in line 1. Chris, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Well, thank you for taking my call. You know, it's an honor to be able to address you and all 4 other listeners right now. You know, for the next 10 or 15 minutes, it's just you and me and Corey, baby.
Yeah. Well, look, here's the thing, Chris. Your ears can be occupied with the show. Your eyes could be occupied with the eclipse. It is possible to do both.
You know, you were saying that you hate it when they condescend to you. I'm driving down Prince William County Parkway going south. And just as a public service announcement, at about Brentsville Road going northbound, I witnessed a car smash into an 18-wheeler. It sent the rear set of axles across the other side of Prince William County Parkway.
No way.
I would take an alternative route if I was you guys.
No way. That just happened?
It just happened. Not while I was on hold.
Holy
I'm like,
cow.
yep, I got to mention that to Vince, man. And Corey the Great's got a fantastic idea. I am going to promote that to my little platform of minions, and we're gonna make that blossom, man. That is a great idea.
I know. Corey's great. He's got that big flag. Save democracy. Vote Trump 2024. It's so funny because it offends everybody.
We'll get participants from the front line of the heartland, man.
I love it, Chris. And what I love about the flag is it offends lefties in exactly the right and most hilarious way.
I really am curious. Let's ask Corey, how many positive reactions did he get?
Did you get positive? Corey, did you get positive reactions? One. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. He said 1 in every 15 middle fingers. He got a positive reaction. And that includes, those are people who are, right in front of all these crazy lefties who are willing to say, I love what you're doing.
In D.C., those are all the people from Fauquier County that were in the race.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. Chris, thank you. Stay safe out there, all those crazies on the road running into 18-wheelers. I hope everybody's okay. That sounds awful. All right, stay with us. More of your calls coming up. And some very interesting news. Is it possible that Joe Biden might not appear on a swing state ballot because the Democrats screwed things up? That's a fun story. I've got details coming up. Hey, good afternoon to you. 3:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news, even in the midst of darkness. And we've had a lot of darkness. Today, the moon's helping. We are going to be joined, coming up on the program, by John Hassan at 4 o'clock. We'll talk about Donald Trump's latest statements on the abortion issue as a part of the 2024 campaign. Guy Reschenthaler, the congressman, will be with us at 4:30, and then Julie Kelly is here at 5 o'clock. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Real quick, some reminders on the eclipse. There is a statement from Donald Trump today on the eclipse. It is an urgent statement. You need to hear it. Here it is.
Sloppy Chris Christie is back. He is hungry, and he is causing a complete and total solar eclipse. He's back, and he's crossing in front of the sun. Usually the moon causes eclipses, but today an entire planet is crossing in front of the sun, known as Sloppy Chris Christie. I call him a gas giant. He's a gas giant, and he's going to leave a shadow bigger than anybody's ever seen before. Right behind him is going to be huge. Remember, if you're watching the eclipse, only to observe Sloppy Chris Christie if you're wearing your beautiful glasses. It's not safe to look at Sloppy Chris without your glasses. It can cause permanent damage. He's, as I call him, rough on the eyes, very rough on the eyes. And don't get too close, because he's known to have what's called a gravitational pull. I saw it happen once. Somebody threw a tomato at him, and it's still going around in his orbit today. Last week, we saw a groundbreaking performance in New York City. Lizzo caused an earthquake, and today we're watching Sloppy Chris Christie cause a total eclipse. So be safe. God bless you, and God bless America. Believe me.
Donald Trump, as played by Sean Farish, Captain Deplorable, who, by the way, among one of the all-time great interviews we've had a lot of great interviews. Sean Farish, that was such a highlight. When we interviewed him at CPAC now, what was it, 2 years ago? And when we went back to CPAC this year, we had all sorts of people stopping by the table. They're like, I heard him live. I was standing right here. I heard you interviewing Sean Farish. That was unbelievable. That guy sounds like Trump. Well, he sure does, and he's really funny, and he's got all this great material. So there he is. Although I did say Corey's the one who shared this with me today, and he goes, hey, we got some Sean Farish doing Trump talking about the eclipse. And I go, wait, before you play it for me, let me guess. Chris Christie. And he's like, yeah, it's Christie. So there you go. That's the Sean Farish take on events. Meanwhile, The View had an even more comical assessment of the eclipse today. They suddenly are becoming, I guess, religious. To them, this is all the book of Revelations today. Although I'm not precisely sure they'd be able to identify the particular book in the Bible they might be referring to. But they say that this is the sign that the world is ending. And, of course, because they have a different God than the rest of us, they talk about climate change.
So what's kind of crazy is with the earthquake on Friday and then the eclipse today, people are having all sorts of conspiracies about the end of the world. And then I read online that the earthquake epicenter was actually at Bedminster in New Jersey.
Right.
Fun fact. So it originated with Trump.
I have to say, I know, right? I mean, I have to say.
This goes back to what I was saying last week. Remember when we heard about the earthquake? It was like, oh, it was right near Bedminster, the epicenter of the earthquake. And the left thought that was great because they think that means that Trump bad, earthquake bad. It's all bad. I was saying, that's great. I love a Trump quake. I think that's the best. That's the best. Trump started the earthquake. It's like my favorite thing ever.
Karen Dupiche, our wonderful, one of our wonderful makeup artists, when the earthquake was happening, she put her coat on and she was like, Jesus is coming.
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm leaving. We've got a solar eclipse. We've got the earthquake. She ran down the hallway.
The rapture is here.
The rapture's here. And then also I learned that the cicadas are coming.
She learned this past week that the cicadas are coming. In case you're wondering what comes next. I like how we have advance notice of all of these things. The cicadas are coming, not to be confused with, I'm sorry, don't you mean cicadas?
And she was like, Jesus is coming.
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm leaving. We've got a solar eclipse. We've got the earthquake. She ran down the hallway.
The rapture is here.
The rapture's here. And then also I learned that the cicadas are coming.
Cicadas.
Cicadas.
Oh, no. Oh, no. If Whoopi Goldberg is correcting you, you've messed up, girl.
Time in like
No.
100 years.
No.
Two different. Well, this is what I read.
There's two different kinds of cicadas.
Yes, two different times are coming.
The good cicadas and the bad
But
cicadas.
for the first time in many years.
No, every 17 years.
Just imagine if your only understanding of the world was whatever came out of the mouths of these women on The View. Like if this was your daily dose of news, you'd be pretty screwed up, wouldn't you? So here's Whoopi Goldberg trying to do a scientific fact check here on Sonny Hostin.
Time in like
No.
100 years.
No.
Two different. Well, this is what I read.
There's two different kinds of cicadas.
Yes, two different times are coming.
The good cicadas and the bad
But
cicadas.
for the first time in many years.
No, every 17 years this happens.
Well, that's not what I read, but maybe you know better. But
in a
will
way,
say all those things together.
I have to say though, just listening to that interaction, I'm going to tell you something that I'm certain is true. Those women hate each other in real life. I guarantee you. Just listening to that brief interaction, I can detect it. I can smell it. They do not like each other. And Whoopi's trying to fact check her on air, and she's not liking that. She's like, well, I read something different. Well, maybe you're right. I don't know. They're all so ego-driven. I guarantee they despise each other. What a nightmare.
Would maybe lead one to believe that either climate change exists,
That's more
or
the
something
point.
is really going on.
returning.
Earthquakes are not at the mercy of climate change. It's underground. It can't. I don't think that's.
It happens,
How about the warming of the
and
planet?
the eclipse. They've known about the eclipse coming because eclipses happen, and they actually can say when these things are going to happen. So all these folks who are saying, it's a sign from God. God doesn't give you warning. Okay, you think he gave people at the tower?
This is also incoherent. But the closest person to the truth here is Whoopi Goldberg. She's like, look, guys, this is not some surprise that the solar eclipse arrived. This is measurable. We've known this for a long time.
Babble warning. Oh, I'm about to jack y'all up. No. God does stuff, and then you figure, oh, that's probably because I just, I mean, it's not.
There you go. Theology lessons. Well, look, she is a nun, no question. Yes, so she knows this. She starred in multiple films as a nun. Some of her best roles, honestly. So that's the assessment today of the solar eclipse on The View. The world may or may not be coming to an end. The cicadas are not far behind, and it's all global warming. It's all global warming. You heard Joy Behar in there? I skipped over it, but she was like, global warming doesn't cause earthquakes, says Joy Behar. And Sonny's like, well, what about the planet warming? So they're figuring it out over there on ABC. That's what's happening right now. Let me see here. I wanted to tell you about what's going on in Ohio. Ohio, not really a swing state as much these days. It has been a swing state in the past, but pretty solidly red these days. But the Biden campaign, boy, there's something so stupid going on right now with them, and it's hilarious to me. NBC has a report on this today, and a number of other news outlets. Everybody's all of a sudden realizing, hold up a second, Joe Biden's name may not appear on the general election ballot in Ohio, and it is the fault of the Democrat Party that that's the case. NBC has a report up today that Biden may have trouble getting on Ohio's general election ballot, state's top election official warns. Ohio's Secretary of State on Friday signaled that the Democratic National Convention may take place too late for President Joe Biden to appear on the general election ballot in the state. According to a letter obtained by NBC News, quote, the Democratic National Convention is scheduled to convene on August 19th of 2024, which occurs more than a week after the August 7 deadline to certify a presidential candidate to the office, said Secretary of State Frank LaRose to Ohio Democratic Party Chairwoman Liz Walters. This is fascinating. So, in other words, the convention where the delegates vote and the superdelegates vote and they choose their party nominee, right? That's the official convention. They officially select Biden as their nominee or whomever, but let's just say Biden for sake of argument right now. They choose Biden as their nominee at that event. That's what it's for on August 19th. And by state law, Ohio needs the nominees to be locked in place by August 7th. That's the deadline for their names to appear on the ballot. In other words, at this very moment, Joe Biden's name is not appearing on the general election ballot in Ohio. He will not be appearing there for now. ABC News first reported about the existence and content of this letter. In the note, Frank LaRose, again, Secretary of State in Ohio, goes on to say that the oversight can be rectified in one of two ways. One of two. Either the Democrat Party moves up its nominating convention. Well, that seems like a big lift. They got to switch the date of the convention to go even earlier. Right now it's in Chicago. And it's a big, they've got the space, it's planned out for a long time. How are they going to do that? They're going to move the convention by a couple of weeks? Or by getting the Ohio State Legislature to, quote, create an exemption to this statutory requirement by May 9th in accordance with state law. Now, you should know Republicans control everything in Ohio. Everything. They control both houses of the state legislature right now. It is up to Republicans whether or not Joe Biden and the Democrats are granted an exemption to state law so that Joe Biden's name appears on the ballot. So let's pause and think about this for a moment. What should Republicans do here? What should Republicans do? Well, here's one thing we know. If the shoe were on the other foot, Democrats would block Trump from being on that ballot, guaranteed. There is zero question about that because Democrat ambitions have been to move to have Trump removed from the ballot wherever they can do that. They've also been trying to stop RFK from appearing on ballots all across the country in an effort to deprive voters of the opportunity to even consider an alternative to Joe Biden. That's the game for Democrats. Now, here in the state of Ohio, something interesting is going on. This is Joe Biden's fault. This is the fault of the Democrat National Committee. They should be aware of all of the state laws involving the Electoral College, how to appear on ballots, what the deadlines are. And they're the ones who chose to make the Democrat convention August 19th. August 19th, after Ohio's August 7th deadline. So this is all their fault. They failed here. I know sometimes we often say, oh, Democrats, they're always, 10 steps ahead of Republicans. And maybe they are in a lot of cases. But in this case, they clearly screwed up. They clearly screwed up here. And now they've got a problem on their hands. And so they're going to have to rely, presumably, on the weakness of Republicans in Ohio in order to get this through. So what, Republicans in Ohio are going to have to give him a special exception here? I thought one of the lessons from the 2020 election was you're supposed to follow the law, not make it up as you go along, not carve out weird exemptions. So why should Republicans carve out weird exemptions for Joe Biden, who failed to follow the law in the state of Ohio? They shouldn't. They shouldn't do that. I guess you're going to have to mount a write-in campaign. Your name should not appear on that ballot because you failed to follow the law. The Biden campaign is actively trying to block his political opponents from appearing on ballots. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If those are the rules that you're going to create for others, then you should live by them and die by them. And then the idea that they would move the convention. It just seems like a huge logistical headache to try and move the convention. They may just have to write Ohio off. I mean, I'm certain that they're probably already are writing Ohio off, so maybe it's not a big deal to the Biden campaign. But there's one other piece here that I find kind of interesting and fascinating. I don't know about you, but I've definitely expressed and still I'm not fully convinced that Joe Biden is the guy on Election Day, that he is the nominee of the Democrat Party. With each passing week, it seems more and more likely that he still is, that he stays in the race. It seems like they've decided they're going with this guy. But if there was ever going to be a change, it would be after all of these various primaries, and it would be at the convention. They make a decision at the convention. We've got to pick somebody different to do that. So moving the convention, I don't know. I don't think that works very well. I don't think that works really, really well for their ambitions, whatever those plans are. So it's kind of interesting and hilarious that they've created this trap for themselves. Ohio State Representative Allison Russo is the State House Minority Leader, means a Democrat, and State Senator Nikki Antonio, the State Senate Minority Leader, Democrat, also copied on the letter from the Secretary of State. A spokesperson for the Biden campaign told NBC News that the campaign is, quote, monitoring the situation in Ohio, and we're confident that Joe Biden will be on the ballot in all 50 states. In all 50 states. Let's see here. We've got Dave in Silver Spring calling in line 2. Dave, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Vince. The whole George Santos thing was about the Republican Party standing up for the rules, and we follow the rules. And so I guess the rules to be followed are that Joe Biden is going to have to move his nominating.
Yeah, move the convention or don't appear on the ballot. But why should they give him a special exemption?
Exactly. I mean, as I was saying to your screener, it's kind of a tempest in a teapot because Trump's going to take Ohio anyway.
Yes.
But it's symbolic, and it goes to it speaks to just how much the Democrats ignore rules and figure they can just do whatever they want, and someone's always going to carry their water for them. Who cares about rules? Schmules,
Yeah, they should follow the rules. It was on the books, and the Biden campaign screwed it up. Too bad. You whiffed.
That's what adults do. Too bad.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to run Trump in 2028 anyway, so they get another chance then.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. All right. Stay with us. More ahead. 3:51 now. A lot of campaign news. You see, Donald Trump had a massive fundraiser over the weekend, too. Everybody was going crazy about Joe Biden raised $25 million. And Trump raised, what, was it 50? 50 in a single event? That's a record. All right, coming up, John Hassan's going to be with us. We're talking Donald Trump's new statement on the issue of abortion in the United States. Michael in Vienna is calling in about this right now. Line 1. Michael, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, sir. Michael, you there with us? Oh, Michael. Going once. Going twice. He's gone. Michael's gone. Michael wanted to say he thought that Donald Trump had a good statement on abortion today. I'll play that audio for you coming up. in my view, it looks like he's trying to kind of table the issue because he realizes that Joe Biden is going to run on abortion. What else does he have to run on? And he thinks that the thing that's going to activate his base to come out and vote, or at least the people around Biden think this, is if they run on human sacrifice, and they'll get people charged up and out to the polls. That's their belief. We'll see if it actually works. But Donald Trump trying to take that particular cudgel out of his hands, we'll see if that strategy works. John Hassan breaks down his impression of the latest statement from the 45th and perhaps 47th president of the United States. Stay with us right here on the Vince Coglianese Show.